If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything that you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on any listening platform like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. It's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Wartime Leadership Podcast, where we explore what spiritual resiliency looks like from different perspectives. We often focus on the physical, the emotional, and social areas of resiliency, but often neglect the spiritual pillar. This looks different for everyone. We will be exploring what spiritual resiliency looks like in the lives of our guests, who are people from different walks of life. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Success Draft, where we help you transform your dreams into drafted plans. Head over to successdraft.com to get started on your future today. This episode's guest is Roger Pollard. Roger has been an educator for over 15 years, a football coach at the high school and collegiate levels, and now is an author on a mission. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Man, it is absolutely a blessing to have you here. You know what? Let's get this conversation started right. I'm going to ask you 5 simple questions. They're not hard. They're softballs. You'll be fine. Or maybe I should say Nerf footballs for you.
I'm going to try and swing it out the park or catch it, but I'm a defender. You only play defense if you can't catch, right?
Well, then Oski this one. What is one thing you find repulsive?
One thing that I find repulsive is poop. Even changing my kids' diapers and things of that nature. If you see a pile of poop on the floor, I don't see anybody who's going to walk right through it. You know, it is what it is, but we all do it.
Yeah, well, if you had my dogs, you would definitely say poop is repulsive. That is for sure. What is one thing, or what are some things that are in your online shopping cart that you have not bought?
I've got, I want to say like 3 books. 2 of them is The Matter of Things with Liam McGilchrist. He's looking at how the different hemispheres of the brain works and just kind of talking about how every single brain on our planet is split into hemispheres, even though everything has one brain. Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning, getting into that, and probably a pair of shoes or something.
Always got to have the pair of shoes in there.
100%.
What do you love about your job?
What I love about my job is I feel like I really truly believe that I'm changing the future. And it's not to say that I am the God word, but I think everybody has got to take on their burden about making our society a little bit better place. You know, we can all point the finger about all the things that we can see on the news that are wrong. And it's like, you know, just make things a little bit better, you know, and, you know, day in and day out, what I try and do. And I tell my students, when I pull out of my driveway, I'm intentional about looking at a star in the morning and saying, I need to give my students all of me today. And you know, on the day, and every day isn't going to go great, and some days you get tired or whatever and whatnot. But it's what I love. That's it. You know, be the change you wish to see.
I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I think that teachers are superheroes because that's just that's just who you are, right? Like that's that calling aspect.
Yeah, 100%. It's an investment, right? The education system, it's just purely investing in our future, where I think our society is built on me, now, where that is the last phase. Like, what do I get for getting a kid to reach their potential? Really, only the thought of them moving on and being the next Elon Musk or the next person to make another gadget that makes our world a little bit better. So that's, all of our time here is winding down. What should you do? I want to plant a tree in which I'll never enjoy the shade, but I know one day as I pass on, if somebody doesn't cut the tree down, that, people will enjoy that shade and be able to sit under the tree and enjoy this thing called life.
It's a beautiful analogy, just the idea of a tree, as long as somebody doesn't come along and cut it down, and that's those bullies, those words, those things that we don't want to impart on our children. So that is a beautiful analogy. But speaking of favorite superheroes, who is your favorite superhero?
I honestly, I have to say it's, oh gosh, I don't know. Would Voltron be a superhero?
Absolutely.
Voltron?
Every 80s and 90s kid. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I didn't date myself. I think Voltron is actually what I call my alter ego, that dog in me, that dog that I think every single person has, because as a human species, at one point we were outside in the trees and the forest and the nature, and we had to beat that crap back to build what we have. So it's ingrained in our DNA. And when someone cuts you off in traffic and that, you start cursing or whatever, and we constantly hold that side of us back, which it's rightfully so. But I'm a very big advocate of integrating that shadow side of us and being intentional about giving it its duties. Because when that Voltron in me sees a job, when that Voltron in me sees something, it's going to hunt. And I think everybody has that, and we got to be intentional about guiding it in the right way, not throwing pennies at the person that cuts you off in traffic, but put it on a mission. Hey, I'm going to develop myself. Hey, I'm going to learn. I'm going to read this book. Hey, I'm going to get up 10 minutes early and go on a walk. I'm going to so cultivating that and integrating that within ourselves.
Seeing a lot of that could be around diversity as well, because by putting on those different aspects, those different characteristics, that's what makes us as a society so good. So I like that.
100%. And it plays on who we are as individuals. Like, I'm not who I am when I'm mad. I'm not who I am when I'm sad. I'm not who I am when I'm happy. So integrating all of those parts into yourself, and then it's us as individuals, it's whatever group we identify with, and then it's society. And when all of those things are coming together, you have a tornado. But the number one thing in the tornado is the thing that touches the floor, which is you. So totally integrating, and when you do that and it's aligned with you, the group, and the society, you have a tornado. And if you're really strong, you have a hurricane.
Woo! And, both of us are over here on the East Coast, so we know something about those hurricanes. So,
yeah, 100%.
All right. Final question. I have 2 tickets in my hand, and I'm going to hand them to you. One is to somewhere that you've already been, and one is for somewhere that you have not been yet. Where are those tickets to?
Where I already been is, I want to take, and my wife and I talked about this. I want to go to Europe. I want to see the Eiffel Tower with the kids. I want to see, the history that our civilization has been with, and share that experience with my children. And where I haven't been would be Egypt. I want to see the pyramids, and like, I'm reading a book on the pyramids and all the information from a mathematical standpoint. Like, we still don't know how they even made the pyramids, in terms of just the amount of mass, how massive these things are, and the precision in which they were made. But to experience that 100%.
Absolutely. Wow. That's pretty cool. So Paris, France, and Egypt. Two great destinations to think of. All right. Well, that was our 5 easy questions. Now we're going to start to move into the meat of this conversation. Roger, why don't you take us through your background, kind of bring us up through what has happened in your life and bring us up to this current point that you're at.
Right now, I was, born and raised in Miami, Florida. My mom's from Trinidad and my dad's from Guyana, and they're first generation. It was just really important about values and structure, right? Like academics and athletics. My parents were really big on, I'm doing a lot of things. So I played the guitar, I played the piano, I played baseball, football, ran track, soccer, like keeping us active and really sacrificing. Like it almost bring me to tears how much I know that, my parents sacrificed for me. And in that, just being, eventually moving away from the piano and the musical arts stuff, and then being an athlete, basketball player and football player through high school, got a football scholarship, went to North Carolina State, graduated there by the skin of my teeth, made some, I guess first 3 years was great. And then the last year probably made some really bad decisions and whatnot and struggled through, but made it through and came back and wanted to, through the lessons that I learned in my life, I wanted to kind of impart that on the youth, that through the same medium that I was using, which was football. And of course, football was a major love for me. And then I ended up getting propositioned to be a graduate assistant. Like I never wanted to be a head coach because I looked at the work that my head coach was doing. I was like, no, I am not doing it. And anybody in a leadership role understands that. But went on and was a graduate assistant and just, I think confidence is derived through, there's two sides to confidence. There's hubris, where I'm confident because of this. I'll tell my football players all the time, Deion Sanders said, look good, play good, but Deion Sanders ran a 4.3 or 4.2, he worked. Your confidence has to come through work. So that year and a half was work and getting my master's and really, really honestly, dedicating myself from on not just the football aspect, but from a life standpoint, where I graduated with a 2.0 in undergrad and graduated with a 3.9 in my master's, saying that you are not a single event. You got to stack events and, with each other and accumulate the information that integrate and accumulate the information that you believe in. So came back and I was like, I want to be a head coach, and went on some interviews and ended up being the head coach at my alma mater. Did that for 10 years. And then I, just recently stepped away and wanted to get on kind of not only a bigger platform, but I wanted to step away in the terms of, I just want to pour more into my family. I want to pour more into I have 2 7-year-old twins, and picking them up from school every day. I've been propositioned to coach probably 7 times already. And I just had one last night, and I'm just like, you can make me the head coach of Miami Dolphins. I'm not going to take it. You can give, you're going to make $50 million a year. I can't do it. Not at this stage, because I really enjoy having those conversations on the way home with my children. And then with that, kind of started writing, from all of the lessons I've learned through the leadership realm that I was through football and going from there.
Wow.
So there I am.
And now here you are. And I can't imagine just turning away that money or just turning away the experience of being a coach, but now looking at it, you're looking at it from a much bigger perspective, right? So I could see that definitely. How about you walking us through your leadership style, kind of as that player to now being a coach to stepping away to lead on an even bigger form?
As a player, my favorite thing to do, my 2 best friends were my workout partners. And I was the guy in our workout group that, if you work out, getting the last set and putting putting 10 more pounds that you're not supposed to. Like the sheet says, you got to squat 405 for 5. And last set you did 365 for 5. And the last one was kind of heavy. You know what? Don't put that on. Put a little bit more. And now, honestly, look in the mirror and think about that guy who's like, everybody works out. If you play football, everybody's working out right now. Like everybody wants to win on game day. What are you going to do right now to win that's a little bit more than that next person? So I was always like talking about that, like, oh, stay in the weight room talking, we're going to run over you, or we're going to. So I guess I was always into that motivational aspect. And then as a head coach, what I wanted to do was I wanted to build my program about developing the individual and not the athlete. And I said that because when you look at the statistics, 10% of high school players play college football. So if I geared my program to that 10%, oh yeah, college football players, and I'm losing, right? Because then I'm only going to have a 10% success rate. So what I said was I could have a 100% success rate because I want to build men. I want to build men, and off of building men, it's about building them on core values. Like all right, if you're part of a team, you go to practice. All right, well, you only practice because it's football, or do you practice because practicing is something important that you have to do? So if you have a job and you're not good at your job, then you should put in time in practice. You need to show up on time. You got to have your equipment on, right? You have to come in your uniform. So what we did every day was I gave them a motivational quote every morning, and at every practice, it was a theme of the day, and it was based on foundational aspects and core values that I said, you're not an identity. You're not a football player. Your values make you a football player. I think we're identifying too much with identities and not values. Like your values are what make you who you are. And then like me as a writer is just that's my journey. I think I'm honestly doing the same thing, like extracting the lesson and blessing through the experiences that I've had, and saying, you know what, I honestly like. I've read genetics books. I've read religious books. I have an intellect for information, and kind of share that and kind of, put that out there, have conversations. And that's what this thing is. It's about thinking. It's about speaking, right? And the more you speak and the more you talk about what you think, it slowly evolves as you have different conversations with different people. Some of it might be wrong. A lot of it is going to be wrong. Like no one is perfect. You know what I'm saying? So have that courage to move forward into the unknown and say that leave a fool and return a king. You don't leave a king and return a king. You leave a fool and return back. And that's kind of my motto and my message, and just having the courage to kind of just say, hell, do it. Why not?
Now, is there any difference between the coach Roger and the teacher Roger?
No, because what I say is a coach, right? If you break down the word coach, a coach was a carriage that brought a person from point A to point B. All coaches are teachers, right? They're just coaching the individual sport. So they're teaching football, or they're teaching basketball, or they're teaching baseball, but it's still the same thing. So whether I'm teaching world history or sociology or economics or American government, throughout the years, I've done all kinds of social sciences. It's all the same thing. I am bringing a student from the first day in class and integrating information within them, but also trying to teach them that education way of understanding and fine-tuning. How do I learn? That's my biggest message. I stand up on the table, and it's not about passing the test. It's about doing what you need to do in order to put yourself in position to pass the test. And growing, because I'm just big on motivation. It's not about how you approach. It's not what you approach. It's how you approach something. And so I know I'm the same person. I'm not yelling and screaming with a whistle, but every now and then I do little motivational talks once a week or once every 2 weeks. And some of them kind of get fired up, but I just think for our students, the most important thing that we can do is motivate them, and then let them know that the most important person that we have got to learn how to motivate is ourselves. I can't wait on someone else to motivate me, because what if they don't come in the most important time of my life? Learn how to motivate and get yourself going, because this thing called life is hard, man. And if you can't master yourself, come on, so absolutely. Be deliberate and intentional about that.
Yeah, very much the self-awareness on that aspect.
Yes.
So now, before we started recording, you were talking about a lot of the books that you had read and a lot of the different things that you had studied, in looking at different religions and different things like that. What comes to mind when I say spiritual resilience?
To me, spiritual resilience is I'll say it like this. If you say sin, right, everybody thinks sin bad, but if you look at the etymology of the word sin, it comes from the word hamartia, which is an archery term. And what sin means is to miss the mark. And how many ways, like if I'm an archer and I'm about to shoot an arrow somewhere, how many ways can I miss? There are like an infinite amount. So when you sin, you just simply miss the mark. We have, like, from a spiritual standpoint, I think the burden that we have as individuals is us. Like, I am my own burden. Like, what could I possibly be if I aimed at being perfect? So I say our life is a musical play, right? And sometimes we get so caught up into the one note that goes wrong. Like, I can't play music, but I can understand. Like, I hear a beat, boom, 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 boom. I can tell you that it was like wrong. I can always identify the wrong stuff. And I think we get caught up so much in identifying the wrong stuff within ourselves that we lack the courage to look at the musical note, which I think is the spiritual connection, and the aim of, I think every time we talk about God, or every time we talk about whatever spirituality, it's our aim at perfect. And you're never going to get perfect. So I tell people, aim at a star, aim at the highest thing that you can possibly. You know what? If you miss, you can land on the moon and still look down at everybody who's on Earth. But we have to have the courage, and it's hard because we've all had our heart broken. If you go all in on something and you don't get it, that shit hurts. But it's having the ability to risk that heartbreak in bearing the burden of being the best that I can be from develop yourself, right? So if you have a spiritual knowledge of something, if you believe it, then act it, because that's what belief is. Belief isn't what you say, belief is what you do. So whatever you believe in spiritually, do you spend more time on your phone than you do connecting with whatever it is you believe spiritually and integrating that within yourself? And then my last one would be, I think we think of God as someone, like if we said that God was in everything, then the best place for us to really search and connect and guide that would be finding the God within yourself before you try and find it in the sky or something like that. So really integrating and coming down and having that time of peaceful connection. And like what I do in terms of that is meditate for 10 minutes on one quote that you love. You know what I'm saying? Like, look up different quotes, because there have been so many geniuses throughout time. Somebody is out there who's smarter than you. Read something that you believe, and then really try and, if you believe it, integrate with it. And that's painful, because there are some things that you believe that you act out that are killing you, and you know it. You look yourself in the mirror and say, what the hell am I doing that's messing my life up? And be real with it and face that. And I think that's the spiritual journey. That's being real. Forget about feelings. Forget about trying to be right. Just totally aligning with that judge, because that's what I think God is essentially. It's the judge. It's the aim. He is the star in the sky.
See, and I see that whenever I'm looking through the Proverbs and different types of verses within the Bible, because that's the route that I believe. So I can definitely see that, and that spiritual resiliency is that ability to overcome everything that we've been through.
The temptation and the ease. the easy way.
But you've got to be honest with yourself before that can happen.
The first person you lie to is yourself. Like we were playing the other night. We were playing this game called Tensies, with my kids. And what you do, you have 10 dice, and you have to roll the dice. And you like, it's 4 of us, and we pick a number. We all have 10 dice for ourselves, and then if we pick 4, you roll the 10. Whichever one that has 4, you take it out, and then you roll again, and then the first person who has all 10, you win. So my kids were losing. And then because you're paying attention to yourself, I look over, they're over there cheating. They're over there just not even rolling the 4s or not even rolling. They're just flipping it. And I'm like, and even from now, I'm telling them, the first person that we lie to on a day-to-day basis is ourselves. And I mean, the things that are easy to do are very easy not to do. So it's, hey, you know what? How many people made New Year's resolutions and it's only March and they're not doing them, right?
Wait, March?
I want to do this.
I'm good to get into the second week of January. Come on now.
Exactly. And it's so like what I do in terms of, my whole concept is motive and motivation. It's not about the action. It's about the core values and the physiological truths that we know about it. So when you have a thought, that thought arises from one place in your brain. And when you have an action, that action comes from another point in your brain. So I can say one thing and do another. And in my brain, it's no big deal because they come from 2 different places. We as individuals have got to be honest and look back. I say, like, what did Moses do before he got the 10 Commandments? He was like settling with everybody and going crazy and whatever. And then he left everybody and went up into the mountain. And that's when he came back down with the 10 Commandments. You have got to move back out of yourself and look at yourself and judge yourself and then come back and say, this is what I need to do. Because I have looked at what I say and I looked at what I do and they're not matching up. You have got to step out and back and say, nah, I said I want to lose weight, but every day I'm eating McDonald's, right? And my big thing is, hey, name the top fast food restaurants. Name them. Okay, you're going to say McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, whatever. Well, they all advertise. What does that mean? Why would they spend millions of dollars in advertising? Well, that means what you put in front of your eyes and what you put in your ears makes a difference. So how much are you being intentional about growing yourself? Like, how much are you being intentional about growing some side of you? And if spirituality is important to you, then you need to be spending a little bit more time listening to, whether it's a preacher, whether it's a sermon, whether it's whatever, and not sitting here looking at freaking whatever it is on TV that's trying to just sell you dollars. So take a lesson from McDonald's and Burger King and start advertising for yourself. They spend $1 million on you. Why don't you spend that on yourself? Because you know what that value is. They're showing you what that value is.
Ooh, I like that. Liking what the value is that's in front of you. One thing that you said that I kind of gleaned from was belief is an action verb.
1,000,000%. Well, all right. Let's say you have a girlfriend and she tells you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And while she's telling you I love you, she's kissing someone else in the mouth. What do you believe? You believe what she says, or you believe what she does? Belief, BELIEF is be life. BELIFE. It's the same letters. Be life. So if you break down what these words are, then do I believe it? And you don't, not off of what you say. You said that you were going to go to the gym every day. You're not doing it. Judge yourself off of your actions. And once you start doing that, and it's not a one-time thing. Like like I tell people, you don't fall in love, you live in love. Right? It is a day-to-day thing. And the first person that you need to love is yourself. Well, love is sacrifice. How much are you willing to sacrifice for yourself on a day-to-day basis? Right. And that's some hard conversations, because there are some parts of you that have been with you for however old you are, and they are weighing you down. But the first person you lie to is yourself. Do you believe it? Ask yourself that in the mirror. And if you do, change, move, and grow.
Man, speaking of going through something, or do you believe it, or whatever the adversity is, can you give us a moment when you had to rely on spiritual resiliency to get through something that happened in your life that you had to navigate through it?
Ooh, big one. I've been doing podcasts now for this might be my 15th one. I really haven't gone into depth or really talked about it, but I had a major depression episode maybe like a year and a half ago around this time. It was in February, and I left work, or I left home that morning, and I had no plans of coming back. And I lack the words to be able to describe exactly what took place for me, but we don't know what this spirituality thing is about, and there's something bigger than us. And it totally, it's like, I'm shocked. You know what I'm saying? Like the best way I can do is the best way I can say it is, I refuse to tell somebody exactly what happened for me. I will let your imagination, because your imagination is stronger than any words that I can give you. And that won't even be a hint to what it was. And in that and through that, I continually funnel that. And it was a really bad place. But I think we've got to be more intentional and deliberate in leaning into the dark moments in our life. Because like I said, sin is an archery term. And if you made a string, if you have a bowstring to a bow and arrow, the best way to make the strongest string is the bad points in your life is one point, and the great points is another point. Hang on to the good points and the bad points, and use that as your bowstring to set your arrow and set your aim and go. So for me, it was like it's kind of like the opposite of the truth is usually found within the truth. It is like the worst and best moment of my life that I put my wife, my parents, my whole community, like I was head football coach for 10 years. All my students love. I put so many people through so much turmoil, but to be on the other side of that and really having lived it, my goodness. And I think that's part of kind of my message, but I don't want to use that experience as my stone. I want to use the information and what I'm seeking and how I'm articulating it. Because honestly, what do we have? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? You think it's every time I put on YouTube, it's money, money, money. Oh, get this money. And it's not about money, man. It's about recreation. Right? It's about us continuing us. And if we do not instill core foundational values behind how we move forward with the hardship that life is, we're not going to make it. And you can see that on the news every day. You can see that on TV every day. You can see that on every single aspect of what it is to be part of a group, because we're stronger together, but then we're also at the lowest common denominator of the group. So that's that, to have a profound just experience that that kind of affirmed what I already knew. And now continually seeking that on a day-to-day basis. Not like I said, it's not what you don't grab it and attain it. It's a constant and continual. Like, where do you go when you sleep? Mm-hmm. When you go to sleep, where do you go?
I go to my bedroom.
I go. You don't. Yeah. You say, "Oh, I'm in my bedroom," but I'm saying once you're gone, once you're out, just because you wake up doesn't mean that's where you have no idea. And there's one day that you're going to go to bed and you're not going to wake up. Like, we are all counting down. We're counting down. Don't take that for granted. Every day is a blessing. Every day, extract the lessons and blessings from the experiences that you have, period. And the more and more we do that, and the more and more we strive, the more and more we carry the burden of growing who we are as individuals, you got it's a hard household or whatever. Wash one dish. Don't wash the whole sink, because maybe you just got, whatever. But if you just wash one dish, you know that you made things a little bit better. And the next day, wash two dishes. Next day, wash, and move on from there. So, that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Well, Roger, I'm really glad that you went there. I mean, being here in South Carolina now for 3 years, right in between North Carolina and Florida, like that, it hit the news, that situation. So I didn't want to push you to say anything about it. I didn't want to push that. And I am so glad that you went there, because I think that that's a part of healing, right? A part of that healing is the conversations like this that we're actually having.
Right.
Now, you have come a long ways, and now this new journey that your life has taken, you're starting to find new ways to be able to cultivate resiliency in people. And that comes in a form of 3 books. I believe it's a 3-book series that you have right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, take us through that. Let's see what that looks like.
Like what I said is, and it was after. This didn't even really start on the on my little incident. It's something that I've always been doing, because what I would always do is, because I had the quote of the day with all of my football players, I would there'd be something like this. You have your regular day-to-day stuff, but every now and then something hits you, or when you're having a conversation and you have a sense of awe or just something it speaks to you on a bigger level. I would write it down, and I was like, I'll just write different notes down for my kids. So I started like 3 years ago, and people have always told me all my life I should write, or I should be a motivational speaker. And it was just something I was like, whatever. And then after that incident, it was like, no, I'm gonna sit down and do this. So what it is in the first book is, the first thing you do when you plug in an address in your phone for a GPS to go somewhere, you have where you want to go, but what's the other point? Where you are. If you don't know where you are, how can you know where you're going, right? And if you don't know where you are, you don't know how to get back. Like the first thing we have to understand is ourself. So I'm looking at the educational system, and the educational system is our ability to move information from what we've learned from the past into us. Like, somebody has got to keep the lights on. And I get that. All of that information is great, but the individual is what makes the group. The group doesn't make the individual. So what do we know about the individual person? And everybody is unique, but are there things that we know about, people? So it's my deep dive in saying, well, no one has the ability to diminish the unique essence of the individual into words, right? Like, women have been having kids longer than we've had civilizations, and no woman can put in words what childbirth is. Absolutely not. No man, no one can put in what being a father is until you're a father. You know what I'm saying? No person can put these things and encapsulate these experiences into words or into movies or into actions. So, but with that, we gotta attempt. So what I did is, from a sociological standpoint, who are we as people? All right, like, who are you from a sociological standpoint? I am my faith, I am my family, I am my friends, I'm mass media, and I am, which is a big one right now, I'm technology. So, just defining those things. Like, the first thing God did in the Bible was he named things. If you don't name things, they don't exist. So how much do you know about yourself if you haven't named those different parts of yourself? So, like, I clean on Sundays, but it's something that when I sat back and I looked at it, well, my mom, as a family, as growing up, Sunday was our cleaning day. Hey, what are the things that you have brought from your family? What are the things that you have brought from your friends? There are certain things that you like. Why do you like them? And then from a psychological level, nature and nurture. Well, from the natural side, we have different predispositions from personality. So I said from a personality standpoint, there's conscientiousness, there's agreeableness, there's neuroticism, there's openness, and there's extroversion. Conscientiousness is kind of like that your parents wagging their finger at you saying, like, you need to do this. Some people Like I had a party where I was at a party at my friend's house, and everybody's, hanging out, chilling, whatever. And his mom was off, like pulling weeds, out of the driveway. And it's like, everybody has it. You go to a family reunion and there's that person who just can't stop working. They just need to work. Those are conscientious people. Agreeableness. Agreeable people it's great, but agreeable people are the most exploited people in society, So, neuroticism, how negative are you? How sensitive to negative emotion are you? So all of these things I just felt like for my kids, I just, hey, analyze yourself so that you have a foundational aspect on where you are, so that now you can aim your arrow at where you want to go. Like you can't pull back if you don't know where you are. Everybody only wants to look at where they want to go. No, First look at where you are. And then the next one was, it was just informational. I went into goal setting. I went into what I believe is the most important thing for us in cultivating the person is be a leader, and not the leader that you see on TV. Be the leader in terms of you have to lead yourself. Like, what good are you if you can't lead yourself? And that's based on 3 values. And then in terms of society, be a teammate. And those 3 values. So again, it's not about the identity, it's about the values. So just kind of naming those things for people, and really for adolescents, because I say I think it's the best thing that we can do. And then from there, I was like, well, now, hey, we know that every single day is a blessing. Every single day is a challenge. And in moving forward, no one can identify all of the challenges that will take place for you. Courage, love, and discipline. So how do you move forward? And I feel like those are the 3 foundational aspects behind how we need to live our life. And just courage is based off of 3 virtues, where I say, how many days have you been alive? How many months have you been alive? And all of those days are different, but guess what? You've only had one body. So courage is, hey, let's be intentional about the body that we're wielding. And the 3 ways to do that is being intentional about how you eat. Now we're in the year 2022. I'm going to have McDonald's every Friday. I'm going to have McDonald's with the kids. I am going to eat bad at times, but come up with a health plan in terms of what you eat. Like the things that we're learning about how your diet affects your body, which is the only body that you have, it's astronomical. Exercise, right? We think of exercise like we think that our brain is in our head when the majority of our brain is in our body. Moving around, we know that 15 minutes and after 15 minutes of exercise, that your BDNF, your brain-derived neurotropic factor increases. And what does that do? That coats it protects healthy neurons in your brain, and it repairs damaged neurons in your brain. So exercise ain't about getting washboard abs. Exercise is about activating, strengthening your brain and some other factors and whatnot. And then sleep. And I'm not like, I'm telling people, I'm giving these people, but everything on the internet is in the world, like www, World Wide Web. You can find out all of this information, but we don't have the time. And I get that, but that's what I'm doing, because I'm just really interested in it and just putting all that information in one place. So either way, so courage, love, and discipline, all 3 of them have their trinities connected to it. And then when you're doing that, and like my emblem is 3 triangles, and when you put 3 triangles together, in the middle you have a 4th triangle, and I say that's reality. And reality is building habits. There are things that that you need to do. Like, I know that I'm not what I was when I was in 5th grade. I'm better. So then I know I'm not right now what I will be in 20 years. How can I be intentional about building that person that I will be? And being intentional and deliberate. Like, are you just living this life, or are you being intentional and deliberate about how you're cultivating who you will be? And then reflection, which is hard. You got to look yourself in the mirror. You got to have some hard conversations. So courage, the ability to move forward, not knowing what's happening in the future. right? Anytime I walk out my door, I don't know exactly what's going on. There's all kinds of danger outside. Courage, knowing the good and the bad. Everybody wants to shy away from the bad. Love, sacrifice. Who do you sacrifice for? You. You want to be a good husband, you want to be a good father, you have to be a good you first. So sacrificing, maybe I want to eat McDonald's right now. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put that off. What are you willing to sacrifice? And then discipline, using the lessons and blessings from the past to move forward into the future. Do what you know you should. Don't do what you know you shouldn't. And through, so that's those three things. And then the third book in that is kind of a deep dive into why it's all of those things. So each one of, the courage, love, and discipline. I'm working on the third book now, really going into the deep dive of like in love, it's artistic creation, it's spiritual connection. So going into each one of those and talking about why it's each one of those, like just talking about the why. So the first one is what are you from what we know? The second one is directive, move. And then third one is why it's these directives.
Oh, I absolutely love that, where you put action steps to everything, because words without action, like you just said earlier, they really don't mean much. Like my son says, I love you a lot, but his actions don't match the word.
Yeah, I tell people wisdom plus words equals lies, but wisdom plus action equals actualization. So, we love to, and anything I do is, for me, I'm just like, it's from a Nietzsche quote where Nietzsche was like, if we're at the top of a hill and we see a whole bunch of people gathered around, and then we go up and see, what are they looking at? And they're looking at a philosopher that just has a big ear. And what he was saying was, if you're going to be a philosopher, if you're going to really think about stuff, if you're going to really contemplate, and it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. And I don't want to be the person that just has a big ear and everybody's like, oh, wow, look at that. No, if you believe something, you've got to live it. So if you're going to sit here and you're going to go into all of this depth about certain things, live that, because you believe it, right? Like, you are what you do. You're not are what you say. So I think that's the strongest thing for everybody to take away.
And folks, probably the greatest thing that I read on his whole website when I was going through, it is with faith, hope, and confidence that I place words on paper. If you're putting a piece of you onto that paper, you had better make sure that those core values hold strong and hold true. So thank you for doing that, Roger. I really do appreciate it. So to kind of bring everything to a head, what books do you recommend for people other than yours, which we will have in the description below?
100%. For me, I read both of Jordan Peterson's books, 12 Rules to Life. Really, really like those. And then I think it's whatever religion that you practice, that book. I think like for things to be extremely old and still like be here, they have a insurmountable amount of knowledge packed within them, right? That are deeper and more truthful than just the words that we read. And I think, hey, pick a line from any religious text and meditate on it for 15 minutes every morning, which I don't even want to get into the power of meditation and what that does for your mind. But I think those, not to put Peterson with God, but I think those three right there are powerful. And yeah, that's it.
Man, well, I am extremely grateful to have you on tonight. I'm glad that we got connected. It's truly been a blessing just going back and forth with you, texting, just every once in a while as we were trying to narrow down a date. And I'm glad that this one really worked out well with you with the spring break and all. But Roger, thank you so much. Tonight's guest, Roger Pollard. Sir, it has been a blessing to have you here. Today's episode is only possible thanks to my friend and producer, G. Frazier with 369 Sound Designs. Brother, you got the hardest job out there trying to make me sound good. So I am blessed to have you. And thanks, folks, for listening to another episode of the Wartime Leadership Podcast. Be blessed.